Jillian, it's so nice to have you here.
Great. It's great to be here.
You know, we just recently met, and I feel like, where have you been all my life? Like, I just feel like we should have been kicking it together for years, and now we just are starting out this conversation.
Yeah, no, I've been around. I guess paths just haven't crossed.
Yeah. Well, you are a genius when it comes to construction, and I didn't really realize all of the projects that you've worked on. And my good friends, the Walls, I didn't know that you worked on the Malcolm Yards
Market.
Yeah,
that was a big one. I was in a project trailer for about a year in their gravel. You know, the back parking lot there. It's still gravel.
Right.
Yeah, from 7 a.m. till 3 p.m.
Wow.
5 days a week. That was a big one.
I thought you were amazing before, and I just learned that doing a little research today, and I'm like, it just makes so much sense.
Yeah, and that project is a huge outlier. That was by far our that and Keg and Case were our two biggest projects for sure.
But the attention to detail, and it's just spectacular.
Yeah, it is. It's so great when somebody is willing to do a project like that, because that is obviously a more expensive project than a lot of people are able or willing to do, kind of to bring back that type of historic ruin, I guess I would call it.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And kind of revitalize that. A lot of people would have probably just knocked it down and started it would have been less expensive to just knock it down. So
right, but it's been a huge success.
Yeah, no, they made the right decision for sure. Yeah. It was definitely a good return on the investment, I would say, but not everyone has that kind of vision, so that project was kind of a gift.
So how did you get into construction? Where did it all begin?
So my dad is a CPA, which is completely unrelated, but he was also very handy around the house, and he was always kind of doing little projects. And I just followed him around and learned from him. We put closets in where they didn't exist, or just refinish bathrooms. He is in his late 70s now, and he just added a bathroom to my parents' home, literally 100% by himself. So he's still very much up and doing that, but it was kind of just that hands-on idea of this is possible, anyone can do this. And it took me a while. I guess I didn't really realize not everyone did that for really quite the longest time. But then when it was time for me to kind of buy a home during law school, I found something that needed a lot of renovating and did most of it myself in my free time as kind of my mindless work during law school amidst the studying. And it just kind of caught the flipping bug and went from there. And it just kind of grew. Because again, I was originally a lawyer, but that wasn't really... Through the course of law school, I kind of figured out that wasn't really the path to answering kind of the social justice questions that I had. My undergrad, I was very focused on sociology and government and other kind of social justice issues in the United States. And law seemed like a really natural fit for that. But through the course of law school, I kind of just realized that you don't necessarily achieve social justice through the law. And construction actually has kind of filled that void for me. I find it much more hands-on, whereas you're not helping the quantity of people you might help if you're an elected official or something like that. But in the lives of the actual clients, you can be making a huge difference as far as first-time entrepreneurs or first-generation immigrants or other people who just they have a dream or a vision, and really working with them in a really hands-on approach and going the extra mile to bring those projects together for them. Has just been kind of a much more fulfilling way to fill that social justice, I guess, purpose that I've always felt. And so obviously here in Minneapolis and the Twin Cities in general, we have a lot of areas that kind of need some revitalization. And so there's so much work to be done. There's just projects all over the place.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, what an interesting perspective. And I mean, I think you could be, you can own a construction company and not know how to pound a nail in or do anything. So I mean, the fact that you like the hands-on piece. I mean, and you told me when you were really young. I mean, you were working side by side with your dad, right?
I would say I remember being 6 and building a closet in a downstairs room that then became a bedroom.
And didn't your parents let you paint?
They did. Oh, my parents let me completely interior design, probably from the age of 10. So and that was the early 90s. So I've picked some really extreme things, but they worked. It was a different time. I kind of just had free range to do all of that, which was, again, really, I think, kind of the way I'm trying to raise my kids too, with a little, you make your decisions and then you live with them. So we definitely had a living room that was painted that beautiful dark red. I don't know if you remember that color.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, I think that made it all the way through till I graduated from high school, to be honest. I think we kept that color.
Wow.
And then kind of a mustard colored dining room. But I really think, like this color, obviously, I'm still a fan. I think it all hung together nicely. But yeah, interior design is not what I do. It's just kind of a hobby I have. But yeah.
And did you practice law?
I didn't. I would say that during law school, I was the lead student attorney in the juvenile justice clinic, and then also in the family law clinic. And so I did that from my first summer on straight through, so almost 2.5 years. So I had a lot of clients, a lot of very low income clients, obviously to qualify for the services. And I saw a lot of things. During that process. And I think that was kind of a big piece of, I'm sure that's not what all lawyers do, but kind of what we were doing was, going to helping these people through some of the worst events in their lives, but you're so restricted in the help that you can actually give them.
Right.
Because the law is very quick and it's very set. And so a lot, the justice system is so overwhelmed with the number of cases, especially in family law and juvenile law, that you are just kind of a cattle call number. And
it's so true. I mean, having my experience being a guardian ad litem and just being in court and having, you're the advocate for the kids, and they'd be like, okay, everybody look at your schedules. When can we meet next? And, let's meet in January. Well, that means that this child is not going to be with their family over Christmas because nobody can meet before then.
Yeah, because everyone's taking that month off.
I mean, what?
Yeah, no, it's...
So that's interesting.
Kind of broken,
but having that training has to help every day.
It does,
in your work.
It does. Obviously, there's a lot of contracts in construction. That's why we're called general contractors, I think. So there's that piece. And then the land use. And I have clients all the time who need rezoning or kind of, issues like that. And I feel like that I have a leg up, obviously, in kind of helping them talk about that process. And then anytime we need to meet with like a city council, or I just have a lot more experience in kind of presenting to those groups, I would say. Trained to do it, so it helps.
So I just am fascinated because I feel like you're doing things differently than anyone else I've ever met, in this industry, having been around a long time, just with the idea that obviously there's a lot of people that are trying to do good and make a difference, by building things and doing that. But you tend to kind of walk alongside your clients, and you've told me that you get involved really early on, not just, okay, now we're ready for, here are the plans, bid them, and let's just figure out. I mean, talk to me about a couple of your projects and how you do that. It's just such a different way of doing things.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, as you know, commercial real estate, sometimes you're the first touch with the client, and I don't know how they find you, but they do. But in that same way, if they haven't found you yet, sometimes they'll find me, or obviously they'll find the banker. And I find that either it's the commercial realtor, the banker, or the general contractor, if you're looking, that will find them very early on through some sort of referral or just fate, whatever that is. And then I think that where kind of the clients that need more hand-holding need that help is in getting started. So, for example, a lot of people don't know, what is the bank going to ask for? What bank should I talk to? Sometimes people think they're just going to walk into, their large national bank that they have their normal checking account at, and they're gonna give them a loan for their small business or their restaurant. And it's just not. I'm not saying that never happens. I haven't worked with anyone that has worked out for. So it's kind of just having that like fleet of bankers who feel the same and just really feeling that purpose-driven, wanting to help on the north side or wanting to help on Lake Street, wanting to work with those clients who maybe don't have their paperwork perfectly in order but want to help them get it in order. And so similarly, I like to pull all those pieces together and talk to them like, what do you want to build? Let me give you a budget number so when you go to the bank with your whatever you have for a business plan, it looks serious, like you've talked to somebody, like you have a number that you know how much money you're asking for. Or similarly, when they find you, like they know what kind of space are we looking for? Jill told us to be careful of what's above the space because we're going to want to vent out the ceiling. So when they come to you, they know, we don't want to be on the ground floor of an apartment building unless there's a Chase already in it. Just kind of those things that I've learned over the last 12 years that are really helpful to people who don't really have a mentor or haven't done a construction project before. I honestly don't know how people really make it through it the first time without somebody stringing it all together for them. And not everyone can afford an owner's rep or even knows that an owner's rep is a thing that exists, you know?
Yeah.
If you're just starting a restaurant and you're a chef, you don't know how any of that works.
Yeah. Well, and it's, to marrying that dream to bring it to reality and understanding how that, I mean, it's really, and to have the knowledge, it's really important, I think, to bring in construction early on in the process to be realistic. Because, you might have the dream, your client might have the dream, the architects may plan for something, but you have to, at the end of the day, you have to know if it can work, if you can get it approved, and if the numbers work.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone into spaces that literally just won't work for a restaurant. Like there's just no way to vent hoods.
Yeah.
They have zero clearance on the property lines and you literally can't go up.
Yeah, right.
Because some other restriction. And so, so it saves everybody a lot of time if I can just look at it real quick up front before anyone gets involved in any sort of negotiation or anything and just say, unless you're doing some sort of, ventless hood system, which has its own issues attached to it. This one, just pass on this one, keep looking. Let me help you. I'm happy to look at as many spaces as you need until we find something that works and fits the budget, because that's kind of the other piece. I work with a lot of people who are evaluating whether to do, take over an old restaurant that already has the kitchen.
Yeah.
Or they find, some completely, I would say vanilla shell, except very run down.
Yeah.
Whatever the term is for a very run down vanilla shell. And it's kind of, let's price up both of those and let's talk about what that looks like and kind of talk to the bank about what would be easier to lend on.
Yeah.
Because obviously for the bank, they would prefer the kitchen already.
Right.
There's more there that they could pull from if something went wrong.
And those spaces are hard to find.
They are. I've talked to a lot of people in the big restaurant groups, and they seem to really be targeting those. You probably know. You're probably working with them too.
Yeah.
But that seems to be something kind of in the suburbs where they're really targeting those, like the TGI Fridays that went wrong.
Right.
And they're turning them into the more upscale individual concepts.
Which is super fun.
It is. I'm glad somebody has, found a use for those.
Yeah.
'Cause it's almost, I feel like they're almost like the big box of 10 years ago where those were all empty.
Right.
Now I feel like every town has some sort of either empty fast food or empty, kind of that low mid-scale.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about how you end up owning a construction company. And I'd say it's more than a construction company. What do you call what you do now? Because I think it's not a construction company.
Yeah, no, I mean it's really evolved. And I'd say a lot of that came out of the pandemic. I mean, if you look through the last 12 years of what we've built, there's really kind of a trajectory. We started with a lot of breweries because we were born along with the Surly Law, so there were just a lot of breweries being done, and that was kind of an area where a lot of GCs don't want to do them because there's a little bit more work involved and kind of some specialized knowledge there. And we kind of moved through the restaurants, and then obviously did Keg and Case, and then Malcolm Yards Market, and those two are, again, kind of larger outliers in our portfolio. But really, we did the first one that kind of opened my eyes a little bit to this whole community development or nonprofit piece was Lopit. We built the trailhead for Lopit in Theodore Wirth Park, and that was the first time I'd worked with a nonprofit. And they were just so wonderful. Like, they had the bigger purpose. I mean, it's great to open a restaurant, and that is creating community, and it checks all the boxes still. But there's something about doing something that's gonna allow a lot of inner city children to experience cross-country skiing for the first time, or create a space for some of the other programming that they have there. And they were just such a lovely group of purpose-driven people to work with. And so that was kind of really interesting because we hadn't really targeted projects like that before. And then moving through the pandemic and everyone with their midlife crisis pandemic moment or whatever, I guess I just realized, again, kind of coming through that there is a way to use construction to have a bigger purpose, like a higher purpose.
Yeah.
Instead of just going after, all the restaurants and kind of those more what were typical projects for us. If you work a little bit harder and you meet more people, there's lots of, women entrepreneurs who have these great ideas for spaces that they need to build too. And I think, and again, same with, immigrant populations, or I'm working with a couple LGBTQ plus clients right now, and those are all really important spaces that need to get built, but I feel like they're a little bit of a disadvantage just kind of stringing it all together And then even working through the construction process. Like I've heard some real horror stories. And I'm on job sites all the time, and I'm usually the only woman. And a lot of times people will mistake me for the accountant or, the interior designer or, I don't know, somebody's assistant. And just kind of experiencing that and hearing from some of my clients about previous projects they've done where they just didn't feel respected or, spoken to in a way that they should be when it's their money and what we're building is their baby. And so I think just taking that view of it and that level of care with people, because everyone I meet is, all my clients are so interesting and they all have such great stories, and that deserves like a pause and an actual engagement. And I think that one reason we're so unique is that I've scaled the company back down to be small enough where I can manage every project myself, because I want to provide that to people. For me, the fulfilling part is actually seeing it and being on site and doing the construction and solving the problems. All the way through to then, going back and seeing it when it's open and the community gathering that's taking place there. But I think that that's really unique. And obviously it took me a while to get there because originally, there were several project managers that I was managing. And that was most of my job, was kind of just dealing with issues from that kind of that boardroom perspective or back office perspective or whatever you want to call it. And it was just so disjointed from like the day-to-day like joy of it. That was my big, I guess, pandemic midlife crisis of, I don't enjoy anything about, like, this is not at all what I want to be doing. And so luckily I was able to just very organically kind of scale it down without, needing to like mass fire people or anything like that. It just happened really naturally. And now, things are just amazing. Like we're much smaller, but we do fewer projects, but they're very hands-on. And they all feel like they have purpose, and it's a lot more rewarding, hopefully, for everyone involved.
That's so cool. I mean, what a great lesson in trying to figure out how to create a career that works for you and just works, right? Yeah. Like it's because, I mean, I've been in groups where people are, if you're not growing, if you're not bigger is better, you should always be growing. Well, what if I'm just super happy with where things are today and what I'm doing today, and the way it works for me is it works. Yeah. So, and then when it doesn't, pivot, right?
Yeah, I can always get bigger again. Like I know what that's like. And honestly, if I could find project managers that feel the same and, have that same commitment to the clients, it would be different. But I've just had so many employees over the past 12 years, and I've just never really found anyone who has that level of care for the clients that is what I want to represent our company. So, I do think there should be more women project managers. I mean, we're just a little bit better multitasking and detail. And I mean, I love men, really, truly. But I do feel like sometimes when it's such a telephone game when you hire a contractor, you get the guys that are good in the room that pitch the business, and you go, great, I'm going to bring you on. And then they bring on a project manager, and then they bring on the subs who are also pitching the business, but the guy that actually is building the closet, often you've told everything you need to know to the main, the guy that pitched the business, and the guy that builds the closet oftentimes doesn't get the message that it needs to be this big or that. They obviously have the plans, but there's just the details that are the tiny details. So, I mean, it's a gift that, to anyone that works with you, that you've got that level of detail and that you are willing to, spend a lot of your time, because you don't get paid for that time when you show up early on in the project. Yeah, so I've worked with, I have clients I've been working with for almost 2 years to try to even, get their project pulled together. And I don't bill anyone until the first construction draw. So it's kind of just like a labor of love until that point. But,
that's
what it takes.
I can relate a little bit, because our business is, we work with a lot of people who are getting paid hourly, and we don't get paid unless
you actually close.
So there's a little of that, but I think it's, that's what we do, and that's how our job is defined. It's very unusual in your industry to do that. But how rewarding. So tell me about a couple of projects that you've worked on that you just think are so fun once you've shown up and it's all completed.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously Malcolm Yards Market is a very fun one. I was just meeting a potential client there earlier this week, like it's Monday. That's always a good one to go to with the 9 kitchens and all the different concepts. And it obviously turned out so beautifully. I
really did.
I feel like anytime someone's coming in from out of town, that's where you tell them to go or that's where you take them. So that one obviously stands out for everybody. Keg and Case, again, unfortunately, went through kind of the bankruptcy and I believe is still owned by the bank. So I haven't been over there. I don't know if anything is still open. But to be honest, I kind of had the same feeling about that place while it was up and running.
Yeah, it was really special and new.
Yeah, it was really special and new, kind of first to market here in the Twin Cities.
And to be able to have really small spaces for all these interesting entrepreneurs.
Really,
Yeah, it was
the bee guy and the mushroom guy.
Yeah, the mushroom.
I'll never forget that.
Right, the mushroom people are super cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll never forget that. But just smaller concepts. Obviously, I mean, Lope, it's a big one. High always stands out because that was another really fun space. I don't know if you've been there, but it's got a very like island vibe to it, and there was just so much detail that went into that build out. And before the clients bought it, it was actually a strip club. So there was a stripper pole, and there was kind of more of an interesting one, and really talk about revitalizing Northeast, which is I think by now completely revitalized. But when we did that project back in the day, there were still other spaces like that needed it. I'm trying to think. I was just over at Bub's Aussie Pies. Again, kind of an outlier, but I was in Woodbury yesterday. So that is another kind of one of a kind.
And who's the owner of that?
I don't know who owns it now. We worked with the general manager.
Okay.
The owner was in Australia.
Oh, okay.
And that was another one. I think it started as a food truck. We used to do a lot of food truck to brick and mortar.
Yeah.
Haven't done as much of that lately, and I don't know if it's just again because I'm not meeting with those people. Used to go to a lot of food truck events,
right,
and meet with a lot of food trucks. Maybe I should start doing that again because those are always fun.
Yeah,
they're always very creative people. I think who go out into the food truck world,
right,
kind of with their fun new concepts.
Yeah, we do some outreach to those groups too, just because they are trying new things and willing to, are kind of always looking for the next thing. So it's those are really fun projects.
And it feels like a lot of them do make it to brick and mortar.
Yeah,
which is always good.
So I can't do this interview without talking about your family.
Okay.
Because you somehow make life look super easy. Yes. And you have
6 children. I know. Huge red flag, right?
6 children.
6 children between the ages of 14 and 7. No multiples.
Yeah. I mean, that's just daunting to me.
A lot of children. The oldest is in high school this year. Very happy. That's some sort of landmark, I feel.
Yeah.
I have a high schooler now. But yeah, no.
And your youngest is in?
She's in 1st grade.
So this is the first time in?
Yeah, they're doing it. They're all off and running.
Yeah.
They get on the bus every morning. That feels good. There's 3 at the elementary school and 2 at the middle school. So a lot, the early bus for high school leaves at 7:10. The middle school bus doesn't leave till 8:37 somehow. So there's still that kind of wide range in the morning of slowly trickling them out the door. But yeah, no, it's kind of living the dream compared to, I don't know, previous years. But yeah, no, we have 6 kids. I think I know one other person with 6 kids. But
yeah,
I mean, know them.
I think you're the only one I know that didn't have a farm.
I know, right? Yeah,
but,
that would be good.
And you still enjoy moving and
flipping a house. So we're working on the house we're in now. We just moved on Valentine's Day, and really that one's going really quickly. It's a 1987, like untouched, just average neighborhood type of 4-bedroom. I've made it into a 7-bedroom so the kids can have their own space. But the only thing left to do is the kitchen, which usually it doesn't go this quickly. I will say it's supposed to be a 2-year process.
Yeah, because you move every 2 years. Or at least you have.
Every 2 years. You get the capital gains exception on your income for that. So highly recommend it. I think we talked about this. I think you were thinking about doing it.
Your kids could grow up to be professional movers.
They probably won't. It's kind of like, probably none of them will probably have kids because they've seen what kids are like. And none of them have any interest in construction right now.
Yeah, I mean, because you could be bringing up your own crew.
I've had that thought. Are you useful? And my daughter wants money. Of course, the high schooler wants money
teach
to
her plumbing,
spend on her online shopping, but I don't know that she really wants to work. So we're kind of still in that
Yeah, well, there's that.
phase.
That's
Yeah.
okay. They can still be
Yeah.
kids for
Yeah.
at least 6 more months or something like
and
that.
it is
Yeah.
hard. I don't have a lot of paperwork I would trust her with, and she's definitely not going to go be on site. That would be eye-opening, wouldn't it? 14-year-old girl.
Right.
And she looks like she's about 17, and she's like 5'10". She's
Wow.
Yeah, she's a taller, more
Yeah.
mature-looking 14-year-old. I would definitely never send her out onto a construction site.
Yeah.
I guess that just speaks to kind of the, like you said, the unfortunate condition of parts of our industry
Right.
at this time.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of female subcontractors. I really look for them. We don't do a lot of public work, and as I'm sure you know, with public work, you kind of target women-owned or minority-owned,
Right.
veteran-owned businesses for subcontractors. And we don't do a lot of those projects, but I always do. I was in AWC and just some other groups, Association of Women in Construction.
Yeah.
Just kind of trying to find the female subcontractors who are actually kind of out there doing it. And I always try to incorporate that whenever I can, but it is, I do understand, having been on so many job sites, why women are avoiding the trades. Because I
Okay.
think there's still some unfortunate incidents that I've heard of, not on my job sites, but you hear from the women. They'll tell you of things that have happened on other sites. Or, that's what led them to break out on their own and start their own businesses, is that they were working under, in a more traditional
Yeah.
company.
Because I think there are a few more women in, I mean, it's still a rare thing, but there are more women in construction on the, a couple, ownership or,
Yep.
or project management, but actually the
Yeah.
subs, that's
Yeah,
that's
it's
really
unusual.
unusual, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it really is. I will say I have a friend who is a master electrician, and she started out, again, that same trajectory. She came out of school as a master electrician, and was working with a lot of men who were older and more experienced, and that was very hard for them. And I don't know how many years she made it, but it wasn't many until she just, branched out on her own, and she does her own thing now. And I keep telling her, really what she should do is just put her face on the side of the van and lead with that. Like, if you need an electrician at your house, wouldn't you rather have, my friend Brittany come
Yeah.
and be the one in your house and like chat with you and do your electrical and then leave, versus you never know who's coming with these other companies.
Yeah.
So I just told her, I was like, you shouldn't be hiding that. You should just be like, I'm the girl electrician.
I think we're still a little bit on the cusp of, especially as you get into, the more non-traditional it is to be a woman in a business is just, I mean, you've done it yourself where you've kind of led with a name that just doesn't instantly say I'm a woman, and I kind of struggle with, there aren't that many women that own commercial real estate companies. I mean, I'm going to our national convention with Corfac, which is the association I belong to, and we have a board meeting with 50 people on Saturday morning after the convention, and I'm the only representative that is a woman for the most part.
Yeah.
I think that's going to change a little bit now, but I mean, that's pretty. I mean, so it's hard for me to I just kind of tend to go through life being one of the guys, right? And
Commercial real estate, I feel like, is one of the industries it's the industry that I work with the most, that is the most, it seems to still be the most like old boys.
yeah.
So I feel for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I love it. I've thrived in it, I'm married to one of them, I mean, it's all good, but but it's this thing of trying to get business just because you're a woman just feels really foreign to me. So I feel the struggle of leading with the fact that you're a woman in the business, because I really just want to be hired because I'm the best and I care the most and I really want the best for my clients. So
yeah, I definitely did not come up with the idea myself. It was definitely more of, I heard an outcry of what was happening.
Yeah.
Of what, the experiences of people who are the only women in the room, and it is their money and it is their baby, and people are like, oh, just don't worry about it, we'll take care of it, and not even taking the time to explain what they were doing with, the money or the questions on the project.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I could, if I were a man, but I was still me, I would be the same. Do you know what I mean? But because I don't think it's the gender. It's like you said, I think it's some of the things, and maybe it's not necessarily gender specific, but I think it's just some of the characteristics that I have that make me a little more willing to do those things.
Right.
And so I find that it's, again, not all my clients are women. I have plenty of clients that aren't women, but I find that a lot of women, that's just kind of compelling. If you've been the only woman in the room a couple times in your life and it hasn't gone great, that might not be the experience you want to have again.
I think I just think you can accomplish things without like leaning on that one way or another, but recognizing the fact that everybody has different skill sets and you kind of need all those perspectives in the room. But, you know, recognizing how you have, I mean, the caring and the detail and all of that makes it kind of fun. So we need to work on some projects together.
Yeah, I would be very happy to do that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunities to do that kind of thing. You know, I think we have similar passions and interests, and I think we're both willing to work on projects that aren't the big shiny object.
Yeah, exactly.
But like really, and I've never, honestly, you've given me a new perspective of, you know, really appreciating helping that small. I mean, I love seeing someone open a business and whatever, but really, like, thinking about how you can really change the trajectory of an entire family.
Or even like a community. We're looking at
Right.
some stuff over on Broadway in North Minneapolis, and it's like, you know, the first one might be an outlier, but if you can do enough within a block or two, you really can make a difference in an entire community.
Yeah, I've really never thought about it like that.
No, what you do is such a gift to society.
Well, I don't know about that, but I do.
Change maker.
Well, it is fun to be able to work and staying small. You know, and you know, not choosing to be with a big firm. At this point, gives me that opportunity to really be hands-on and to have encountered a lot of small businesses. Our whole team works with a lot of small businesses and you know, helping people kind of you know, see their dream through.
There's so many cool projects out there, and it doesn't necessarily correlate to the budget size. I mean, obviously, it's great to be able to spend, you know, open checkbook. Let's make this place magical. But there's a lot to be said for doing more with less, and that, you know, the mental game of getting that all to work out is part of what's fun and keeps it interesting.
I agree.
You know?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it turns out to be a bright, shiny object when you're done, as long as, you know, there was some value in what you were doing.
Yeah.
Either you learned something or,
Yeah.
you know, you made a difference for the owner.
Yeah. So where do you see things going in the future for you?
Like I said, like I'm really happy with where things are now. I'd like to just continue. I'm working with a couple different nonprofits and other groups. And so kind of keeping that at least as some part of my business would be good. And the thought of scaling back up, if and when I scale back up, it will be in a much more kind of thoughtful way, making sure that I either can still have that hands-on touch, or again, I'm finding other people. Because I know there's other people. I talk to them all the time. They're just not necessarily commercial construction project managers. But neither, like, I'm a lawyer. I wasn't either. So it's definitely learnable.
Yeah.
And I've been talking to lots of women in kind of related industries who I feel like have the right purpose and have the right kind of demeanor and vibe and interest level. And it wouldn't be, you know, too much work to just kind of train other people to do the construction side if they have the caring side. So I kind of see that as maybe being the next move. If I kind of get so many clients that I need to, it gets to a point where I feel like I'm struggling to serve them all properly.
Well, I think you need to search for women that have 6 children, because if you can project manage
again, I usually don't
that family,
with 6 children. That
if they can manage that, they can manage a construction project, because it's you know, you just have a handful of people that you're managing. Yeah,
that skill of coordinating all those timetables is really.
So if anyone out there has 6 kids, you know, give Jillian a call.
Let me know. Or even 4. I think 4 is a lot. I've met a lot of people that live 4 kids, and I'm always like, wow, that's a lot of kids. Because it is, but I don't know.
But 6 is more.
6 is still more.
I mean, you win the prize.
I guess. I heard of somebody who had 7. I don't know them personally.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
I love how amazing you are, and you always look so chipper, and you're helpful and sweet, and I just can't wait to work on a project with you.
Yeah, let's do something.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.